the paper lantern in the small town of Willow Creek, tucked between rolling hills and wide rivers, lived a 16-year-old girl named Emily. She was quiet, with chestnut hair that always slipped into her eyes, and she carried the kind of sadness people noticed but rarely asked about. Emily's father had been a firefighter, local hero. 2 years earlier, during a raging fire at an old warehouse, he never came back. Since then, Emily and her mother, Laura, lived in a modest house on the edge of town, where memories lingered like shadows. Emily loved art, while other teenagers spent their free time scrolling through phones or hanging out at the diner. Emily drew. She filled sketchbooks with portraits, landscapes, and most often with drawings of lanterns. Lanterns had been her father's favorite symbol. A light always finds its way through darkness, he used to say. But Emily's dream of becoming an artist felt impossible. Art supplies cost money they didn't have, and the future seemed too heavy to chase. The forgotten contest one afternoon at school. Her art teacher, Mrs. Turner, handed out flyers. The state art competition is coming up. First prize is a scholarship to the Willow Creek Art Academy. Emily's heart skipped. The academy was the dream studios filled with sunlight, teachers who lived and breathed art, and the chance to create without limits. But the flyer might as well have been written in another language. Entry fees, travel costs, supplies, it was beyond reach. That night, Emily stuffed the flyer into her backpack and tried to forget. But her mother found it while doing laundry. She studied the paper and said softly, "Your dad would have wanted you to try." "Mom, you can't afford it," Emily whispered. Laura placed her hands on her daughter's shoulders. "We'll figure something out. You have too much talent to hide." A lantern in the night that weekend. Emily walked by the town's annual lantern festival, a tradition her father had loved. Families wrote wishes on paper lanterns and released them into the night sky. Emily stood at the edge of the crowd, sketchbook in hand, when an elderly man approached. His name was Mr. Coleman, the retired librarian. He had known her father well. "Not joining?" he asked, nodding to the glowing lanterns floating upward. Emily shook her head. "No money for lanterns." Mr. Coleman studied her sketchbook instead. "These are beautiful," he said. "You see the world differently. That's rare." Emily blushed. "They're just drawings." "No," he said firmly. "They're light. Don't let them stay hidden." The broken brush determined, Emily began preparing for the competition. She borrowed leftover paints from school, patched together old brushes, and scavenged for scraps of canvas. Late into the night, she painted by the dim light of her desk lamp. She poured her grief, her love, her memories into each stroke. One painting, her favorite, showed a lantern floating above a burning building, hope rising from tragedy. But one evening, disaster struck. Her brush snapped in her hand, spilling paint across the nearly finished canvas. Emily gasped, tears stinging her eyes. "This is stupid," she muttered, shoving the ruined canvas aside. "I'll never make it." Her mother, hearing the noise, entered quietly. She picked up the broken brush and said, "Emily, your father used to fix everything with tape. Maybe art works the same way. Don't give up." Emily stared at the paint-smeared canvas. Maybe it wasn't ruined. Maybe it was part of the story. A stranger's kindness, days later, at the diner where her mother worked nights. A customer noticed Emily sketching at the counter. He was a man in a suit, tired eyes hidden behind glasses. "Those drawings," he said, pointing. "Are you entering the state competition?" Emily shook her head. "I wanted to, but I can't afford it." The man thought for a moment, then pulled out a crisp bill. "Consider this an investment. My daughter once wanted to be an artist too. She never got the chance. Don't waste yours." Emily tried to refuse, but he insisted, leaving before she could even ask his name. With the entry fee covered, she finally mailed in her application. The big stage, weeks later, Emily stood in a grand gallery, surrounded by canvases from students across the state. Some were bold, abstract pieces. Others were technical masterpieces. Her simple painting of a lantern among flames looked small in comparison. Her hands trembled. "I don't belong here," she whispered. But then she remembered her father's voice. A light always finds its way through darkness. When the judges stopped before her work, one of them lingered. His gaze softened. This is raw. It tells a story." Emily's heart pounded as they moved on. Hours later, the results were announced. The victory Emily's name was called. First place. A scholarship to the Willow Creek Art Academy. Tears blurred her vision as applause filled the room. She thought of her father, of broken brushes, of lanterns drifting skyward. That night, at home, she lit a small paper lantern, writing one word across it, hope. As it floated upward, Emily whispered, "Dad, I'll carry the light. Always." The moral dreams often feel too far, too fragile. But with resilience, love, and the kindness of others, even broken tools and fading lanterns can light the path forward. Emily learned that art wasn't about perfection, it was about telling the truth of her heart. And in doing so, she found her way through the darkness